order. And Joe.
This state. Yes. This is formally advised that it required by general laws, chapter 38, section 1825, and pursuant to chapter 20, and also 2021, and act relative to certain COVID-19 measures adopted to the state of emergency signed into law June 16th, 2021. As extended by chapter 2, chapter 2023, the Mattacheese Utilization Committee will hold a public meeting on Monday, January 27th, 2025 at 6 p.m. Conference room A, Yarmouth Town Hall. Public is welcome to attend either in person or via alternative public access provided online on the agenda.
Terrific. And then if we could do our personal roll call and start with John.
John Anderson here.
Lindsay Pietro here.
Andrew Laird here.
Bill Scott.
Oh, I'm not a
Staff.
member, so Bill Scott here.
Sharon Weimer, member,
Barbara Lavoine here.
and Joe could not come today. Joe Watska.
And Roby.
And
is
Roby.
not in. Okay.
Is she back yet? You know?
I don't know.
Yeah. Let's start with the, we've done those two things, so we're gonna start with the status teams meetings. And an update, and I think you've all picked up your big sheet, it's more legible. That Phil has put together.
Well, that's the schedule, but the team meetings, we have everybody's schedule, so. I just got some of them recently, so we will put together the schedule, and then what I was thinking of doing is. Just treating it as a legal ad for a month, so everybody would be on your website as a legal ad for these meetings and post them. There'd be one showing everybody. But then there'll also be individual ones for their meetings, so that if they choose to change their meetings, we have a memo from the chair that will say give us a 2 weeks notice, so. Being a legal ad, you can just post this on your month page and also on the agenda center. And if they choose to, I mean, they'll choose to post their stuff, but people can go to one place with the legal ad with all this. The only thing I have to do is try to get their Zoom links for all their meetings. And but other than that, what we're gonna do is link out to their posting. But what that does is it puts the posting up well in advance of the required 48 hours. And everybody sees it. And the legal ad format essentially will be the agenda. And then instead of the brochure, it will describe what each meeting represents. So one will be for brainstorming another legal ad, the other one, another one. And that's a description of what the meeting intent would be. Which would be this.
So you did receive open space water then?
I did receive open space water, and I did receive some corrections in economic development, and people are still searching for sites. Because Recreation realized that they are inviting all the different leagues and they need a bigger room than they originally.
Are they doing representatives of the leagues? Or the
Yes.
whole-
Yeah, not the,
Not the whole,
no, that's a lot of kids. in
yeah.
there.
Just a question on education. So on this memo, it says,
I actually was gonna get to that.
okay, sorry.
So education, I sat down with the superintendent. Their feasibility study through the school building associate program is further out. So what we did is talk about. Because we're supposed to deliver 3 scenarios to the select board. One of them would include a school and space for a school, which means that. If they come back and say, yes, we're interested, it's there, and the board has the choice. But if they choose to go somewhere else, you know, we could quickly pivot and have something else in that space, but. Right now, they can't tell us until they finish their feasibility study. So it's best we choose one of ours and say, okay, they need, let's say 5 acres, it could be here. And we tell them where it might be on the site. So he's okay with that. He was gonna write a letter to that effect to the committee. It's just that they're not really positioned to run a parallel study. Cause they
Yeah, sure.
have to look at multiple sites.
Yeah.
So it's good for us that we're running 3 scenarios because you might decide there's more housing than rec, there's more this than that. And so the 3 scenarios, one of them would be with a school.
So on this schedule, there's a January 30th.
Yeah, that was one of the other
Education,
ones.
that's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
happening,
yeah.
right? Okay.
The schedule, as I said, the schedule has to be updated because I just got some new dates in. So I will update this one, but I think what I'm gonna do is. The one that the chair was going to. Was incorporate the specific dates on this, so one page, we show your meetings, their meetings, and everything. And, rather than plowing through all the different pages. And when we get to this is the one that gets us this thing done in 18 months, so it's pretty tight. But there might be some changes I can do to get us there in terms of how we handle consultants and things like that. But it's encouraging, everybody came back with meeting dates, the only one is municipal services, which is. I need to send an email out to all the departments that are related to buildings, sit down with them and run scenarios. I mean, we have 1,000 different ways we can look at this site for municipal services, and. We're probably gonna run the brainstorming, but not the top three, and the reason for that is it's the the select board's determination. How we handle municipal buildings. So what we're gonna do is give the committee. If this use goes there, then this is where their other uses go. There's a whole bunch of dominoes. If you move a municipal use there, then you're gonna figure out what to do with their existing building. So. We'll have a discussion about those scenarios, as a group, and then come back to you with those pages. And the advantage is that when somebody stands up in a meeting and says, have you thought about moving X there? Yeah, we have. But we're not quite there yet. I mean, there's too much. Cost involved. I mean, we're trying to cost adverse. Municipal facilities, so. But it'll be part of it. The one weakness in the process, I think that we need to attack, and I'm not quite vetted in how to get there, is. How do we get the social services involved? I know the chair has mentioned that to me. Because we're talking about municipal services, you're talking about a use in a building. But I've had a few emails from social services saying, can we get a cut at this? Now, they are outside agencies and we're dealing with inside committees, so. I'm not quite sure how to do that, other than maybe set up a committee. Now that we have the building report, we have an idea what that will be, and if I was a nonprofit, I'd be looking at that building, so. Bring a wheelbarrow full of cash. So it's something you may want to discuss. I think what we can do is between health and community development and housing, we could probably make a decent list and have a meeting with them. Say, what do you think? Where do you think you belong in the site? Things like that. Because some of them have existing sites that they're in, they're too small. So, things like that. But we should involve them because some of them are, part of the services that we provide. I think health gives out grants. I know that community development does through CDBG. So I'll try to round up a list and then we'll try to see what we can do about engaging them, a separate process. Parallel. So that's it for the meetings. We have the dates and I will get them to you. And instead, I think the best thing we could do is try to put everything on this. So your meetings, we'll have a date on this. Line, the meetings, muck around and everything else, there would be a specific reference to economic development or whatever, date right now, time month. And then that way we can pick all this out.
Well, I'm delighted that finally we have dates so that we can move our process along. So you must feel good, Bill, for all the work you've done to get us there.
Yeah, and I think part of the scheduling was, if you look at the scope, it actually started. There's some anticipation that the difficulty is one group booked the room and another group came in within an hour of that booking and they're like meeting on top of each other and I'm like, well, so all that has been starting to get straightened out. Roby's probably been experiencing some of this. They've been trying to get into DPW and other places, police. People were booking police and they had conferences there, so. I mean, I joke, but it's like getting a room this town is like landing a plane at LaGuardia in Thanksgiving, it's just like. Hard to book rooms, but I think between the senior center and. Did they get into DPW?
Yeah, we're good with the muster room.
Right,
During the day, we're fine with that.
right,
And it records. It records.
Yeah, we have a TV and IT set up a whole system in there so they can do a
Right.
recording. Yep.
Because I kind of feel like that's so important to our communication to public too.
Yep.
So it's one of the ways that we're gonna ensure that
Yep,
they've
they've got
been
it.
given an opportunity, right?
Absolutely.
And Roby Whitehouse is now in our meeting, so we're.
Apologies for my tardiness.
No, don't worry. So,
so in the teams meetings, I think what we wanna do is, I'm taking a look at the potential, legal scope in the sense that. As they finish up their muck around meetings or brainstorming. If you look at the overall schedule, there's a meeting in somewhere around March 10th, probably the public meeting. And what we might do is entertain with each of the groups that they would come in and explain their ideas. So it becomes a dialogue as they go through the process of refining their ideas, they're hearing from the public. So that meeting, hopefully we'll have a consultant on board, they'll do a background on the site, we'll open it up to the public. But also, it's a perfect idea to float the trial balloons there.
that would be the earliest date for, you think, for the public meeting?
Yeah, because I just want to make sure that it takes a while to nail down the consultant contract and everything else. But
Right.
they're coming in the first week in February, so I think we can get them moving forward. But it's tough. I mean, to get consultants down here. I put out an addendum and said Zoom meetings are okay because we started to get pushback, from people coming down here all the time. And we clarified that they can provide some amendments for the scope and other things, so we put on an addendum, so keep people interested. I think about 5 that filed,
Inquiries,
yeah.
and anyone seem strong in the sense of
Well, they
gonna
don't-
follow up? They don't?
No, they don't,
Yeah.
they're just, we haven't really had a lot of questions, which is good. I think they're interested in the price, it's about 185, I gave them out of the 224, because we're into. Between the study you saw and the maps, we're at about 24,000 expenses, which is good, because some of the other consultants were like 40 or so, so. Then if we move forward with the same firm to do sort of analysis on what would it cost if it was residential. They're very technical, they're not designing, they'll go through and do a square foot takeoff. They could probably get me into the same type of study around 20, which is good. So it means that the architect, whoever we hire, has already got a building assessment and potentially a cost assessment for if it was residential or office. So as we're waiting for that to happen, we're still getting work.
Is, how does it work? Is there a figure that you can use for immediate, repair? That doesn't require you to go out for an RFP?
No, there's nothing, not in that building. Oh, the immediate repair. Robert was putting up 4x8 sheets of plywood over windows, yeah. It's the DPW crews and facilities that are doing it.
Right, well, I guess my question though, is there a limit, is a money limit
It's
to,
about 50 grand, was it? And then you're bidding, I have to be somewhere on there. But no, it's not, our cost for that building is 41 million, there's no.
no,
there's
I
no-
know, but if you wanted to. Because as you read the report, it doesn't necessarily give you everything. In terms of. If you wanted to do, let's say, a part of the buildings,
Oh,
the gym or the auditorium.
yeah,
or-
Oh,
I
I
don't,
see.
we don't necessarily have those figures broken
No.
out. Yeah, no, we don't have that.
No, but
No, I know, but
you couldn't, because once you let them in the building has to meet, so.
Well, the other thing is because it would need a whole new heating system, because the individual heating system that's in the center of the building runs the whole building.
Mhm.
So perhaps we'd have to have an HVAC person come in and do an evaluation just on that portion of the bill. I mean, there's a lot of variables, is all I
So
can
is
say.
there Any money restriction, I guess I'm trying to
Oh.
get to.
No,
For
you'd be
you
over
to-
the bid limit.
No, just to
Oh.
come in and do specific things.
You mean available currently to do that?
Right,
The current budget, what we've been getting has not been used, and there's approximately set between $50,000 and $70,000 currently available. But we are holding that money very tightly because if that HVAC, excuse me, the heating system breaks down, we'll be in an emergency situation. So, yeah, we have to be severely conscious of what monies are there. Extenuating
well, let's
circumstances.
say that happened to you. And so the fiscal year is still running. So to go to, because you have another emergency, is there an amount, either town limit or RFP kind of limit that you couldn't go and repair? Let's say the left part of the roof of the gym went down. And
You-
you've already spent the money. Can you go and, is there an amount of money that you can go get approval from the Board of Selectmen? Look, have an emergency. Can we go do this?
Okay, if it's an emergency, a true emergency,
Yep.
then we can file a form through the government and the state asking for an emergency. They would still ask us to advertise, provided we have the funds. But it quantifies the word emergency is a little bit different because there is no reason for that building because it's vacant to be considered an emergency. Because we can turn the water off, we can turn the building down completely. So I just want to clarify, emergency at a school is totally different than a school that's vacant. You know, a school that's occupied is completely different than a school that's vacant. So
Well, I don't
there's,
know how that works with recreation using the gym
it,
or,
they can cancel their programs. You can never say that a recreation program is required.
Could you use the finance committee money for that?
Well, look, if you have a budget, you had 2 years of $200,000. We have the printout for 111 spend.
Yep.
But to Roby's point, she has that fund available to her. So we wouldn't do any, their approach is perfect because the only thing you want to worry about is frozen pipes.
Yep.
And so you save the money to overcome whatever is going to make that happen, which is heating system, things like that. And you don't go out and make repairs to anything
Right.
until it becomes a problem.
go ahead, Bob.
Wouldn't the gym and the auditorium existence even be dependent upon whether or not an RFP was written by one of these groups?
What groups?
Down the
Those,
road.
Yeah,
maybe.
like the recreation, wanted this building, then they would write an RFP.
well, no, they're going to respond to your RFP
Okay,
and then give a proposal, then your consultant's gonna say, based on the mix of proposals, here's what we think is plan A, B, and C. And then if one of them involves the auditorium, then yeah, we would have the designer say, here's what we're gonna do with it.
but in essence, if people respond to our RFP, and nobody wanted to use those portions of the building, then they would be, destroyed or whatever, according to whatever proposals were submitted.
No, I mean, you as a committee, you're gonna take proposals in, but I've heard some of the proposals and then I see gaps in them and I say, well, they should consider this. It's okay for you to come up with the ideas. On top of what these groups are. The important thing about the teams is they've been studying, creating plans in these sort of venues, whether it be economic development, housing, education. So we ask them first, so that we don't end up hiring our consultant, coming up with the ideas and then have them come to the microphone and say, what did you talk to us? Here's 5 ideas that we have. So they come in with the ideas, they come in with everything 3 and then 1. Then we ask them the RFP, and in between those stages, we have public meetings to say, what do you think about the brainstorming? What do you think about? So that they get guided before they fill an RFP with public input. I mean, you don't want them to come back with onto your RFP that's counterintuitive to what the public wants.
So could we, may I understand our first brainstorming meeting with any, group
Housing, yep.
is mostly to listen, but could we also propose ideas as well?
Oh, yeah, yeah. In
Okay.
fact, when their information comes back, you, housing liaisons would bring it here and say, you know, what do you think? And you might see something is missing and we fill out a form and add it to the mix, and then we send it back to them and say, if you're gonna select 3, try one of these, you know?
Okay,
So, you know, I've thought of some ideas that I don't wanna go through here, but you know, if somebody doesn't come up with them, then there's gonna be a form and it's gonna say on it, as you can see, the forms now have the committee name and then a person's name, and it's gonna say muck and then committee. And we send it back to them and say, think about this.
What your question is, at the housing,
Right.
second meeting? That's the question, but your idea, if you don't hear it, would be at this meeting. at
so,
this
so at the
table.
second meeting, I could suggest or recommend.
Oh, yeah, I mean, look, you
You'd come
could have a
back.
dialogue, but
Well, you wanted us to come back with these.
yeah, but
ideas.
I think what you wanna avoid is you wanna be directive to the.
Right.
Cause they're gonna file a proposal against your RP. I mean, we don't wanna go in and say, okay.
This is what you have to do.
These
yeah.
are the muck ideas, so let's all, you guys go home.
I just,
So we're gonna wait a little
Yeah.
bit, so.
Yeah,
see what
so-
happens. They may come up with even better ideas, so.
They're
on the
working
same
in between
vein.
their meetings now, we need to get their forms in to you.
and when they give us the forms, for example, from housing, will they complete those, will we have all
The
the
back
data?
end is completed between the first and the second meeting.
Okay, so we'll have more detail on that, muck. I can't pull up the form right away, but on the muck agenda, you know, that form that,
Yeah, so the form is in the packet, everybody.
yes, there it is.
Yeah, there it is.
So they'll provide us more detail, so we.
Well,
can-
they've already filled out most of these. In fact, their committee members have, and the instructions going out to people is have your committee members fill them out before they show up at the meeting. So that we don't have an inordinate amount of note taking and keeping up. So you should be, I think, getting, these, and I'll talk to Mary about getting the form. What I don't want is somebody half filling it out and sending it to you, so they need to tweak them. And
Right,
she's meeting with her consultant to do that before her next.
which is
meeting.
fine, I mean, but it will be nice to see all those ideas, a little bit more detailed on paper.
Yeah, and there, I've seen like 5 or 6 of these filled out so far
Okay.
by email. But they need to send them to you eventually when they're all done after each phase.
We're gonna be busy.
Yeah, well.
I
Okay,
guess I was thinking in terms of a stint on the regional school district. That there was, if, you know, the regional district also have to go out for RFP for anything. They want to buy rolls and, you know, bread and all that. But if there were a building that needed, and they didn't have the money other than E&D, which the towns never wanted them to take, I add, at the time that I was on the board. But they talked about there was a $10,000. So if it was less than $10,000, they didn't have to go out for an RFP. They could just go hire somebody and do it. And that's what I was
But
wondering
it's
whether.
the
the
aggregate
town-
of all that work. So if somebody comes in over several days to fix windows, it's not each window. It's the
Correct.
total aggregate of work in a year, so.
But if
we-
there's a particular roof hole. You know, can you go fix the roof hole if it's less than X amount of money?
I think you guys have control, good way to manage it. I mean, you.
We're watching
Yeah.
it. We have many leaks in the building.
Yeah.
And we're handling it with very large buckets.
Yeah.
Much like Emmy Small, unfortunately, there's kids in there.
Yeah, really.
Teams is updated, overall scheduled public meetings, you have this,
There's no time on the Economic Chamber February 12th
no,
meeting.
I have, as I said,
TBD, okay,
Lindsay, I just got new numbers.
Okay.
So I will send them out.
Don't
you.
put these in my calendar.
No. No, the chamber one moves from one site to another and a few other things. So as I said, what I'm gonna do is make like an agenda and a posting. And then for each meeting, all the committees will be listed. And then you'll get the locations and everything else.
Okay.
And then we put them on our MUC website and the agenda center. And then they post their own meetings in accordance with their requirements. So I have to do that, but then also to coordinate everything into one piece of paper, I would pick a line that would say muck around economic, and then there would be a notice to the time, and then somewhere else there'd be the location. All right, so that we'll have the ability to look at this and know everything about the schedule, combining the teams meetings with this. So right now, it's just by month. So you might see, it says team meetings, muck around, right below that, it might say economic, the other ones, and then it'll give a specific date. And then the location probably in a footnote. For each group. Because I don't wanna have to look at the. Posting, and other things, but just look at it. But it's, the fortunate thing is, we have all of it, and they all end around April. Housing is 1 month ahead, which is actually a great thing, because what housing is doing for us is giving us that beta test. Where they're coming in with the consultant saying, look, we could form, you didn't have the committee name on it, things like that, so they're helping us. Repair things before we get to the other groups. So this schedule is meant to try to get this thing done in 18 months. The problem is lining up with town meetings and trying to figure out, do we do a town meeting where we do a presentation, trying to figure out what do we need at each town meeting? The goal is to hit 18 months. And we're at 17 months in April. If we count December as a month where we began, which is not entirely accurate. So what we're doing is we're saying by that time, you're going into town meeting and presenting the 3 scenarios. And then what you probably would be doing is asking for money for the implementation cycle, which is more detailed engineering. Once you decide this is a scenario, you're gonna need an RFP for the affordable housing, which means you're gonna need more engineering or whatever. Grant application for the sewer. So you're basically bringing in your 3 scenarios on that date. And you're bringing them to board of selectmen, whether the board wants to choose to pick one, then you go in with one. And then that warrant article will ask for a budget for the implementation side. So you spend what we have for a budget up to that date, and then after that, you probably could spend it. That amount and more to create the implementation plan where you're making sure that, all the legal matters and other things are done.
But we totally haven't ruled out the November of this year
For
town meeting or something.
November,
Yeah,
you have an April coming up, so,
right. But don't you usually have 2
yeah. I don't know what you're doing
in November?
yeah.
Maybe we'll have something in terms of takedown.
Oh, yeah, I mean, if you get to that conclusion, you could do that, but you would wanna probably. Have the board have voted on that, so you need it in the schedule to
Mhm.
make that, and then. You put in the schedule the grant application, cause I wouldn't wanna spend $4 million.
Free cash.
Yeah, well. As a capital.
Yeah.
I'm moving to a Roby now, so I'm moving trucks out to future years now, I'm running out of free cash.
Stop
Yeah.
moving my trucks.
Come on, you gotta, it was a windfall there for about 3 years, right?
I know. We've done a really good job of staying ahead because the omnibus bill is coming at us and it's
Right.
gonna cost a whole lot more.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's what we're trying to, do is still making trucks less cost effective.
Is that right?
That's one
Is
way
that
to,
right?
That's a diplomatic.
that's a very diplomatic way.
And so we're trying to buy them before they get there.
Yep.
And you know, to Roby's credit and Jeff's credit, they both were keeping track of that, so we're trying to get some of the bigger stuff in and. That'll be far more costly and difficult to buy, because once it comes in, then there's gonna be a lot of people looking for those same vehicles.
And we don't want to be the first ones buying them.
No, no, some people are already ordering them, so. So, their credit, you see all the building vehicles, we don't have to do that for quite some time with CIP. And Lindsay, you know that. We go through rolling stock, replacing cars that were 2004 Honda Civic that Health used to use. That he gets stuck out in the field over and over again. So we're not in that place anymore. So I'm going off topic.
We digress.
Yes, we digress. Yes, so
Survey.
yeah, so survey, I haven't finished it, but I need to finish it, basically. I'm thinking that we wanna have the consultant look at it before it goes out. Cause I really don't want to have them bound by something that we do. They show up, hopefully, consultant proposals and select is probably in the end of February. Then they put out the survey, which then gets us into the position where the survey can respond to some of the muck around before you get into March. So I can send you what I have so far, but I haven't got into the economic side, and we're probably not gonna do a survey for education. Because it's unfair to education for us to figure out. I mean, you could ask, where should it go and everything else, but that's their task. So in municipal services, again, that's controlled by the select board, so we won't do a survey for that. We're gonna be about the economic housing and what's going.
Yeah, Bill, just curious, what kind of a response do you get from the surveys that you've done in the past?
I usually do a mailer card beforehand, so mine is usually pretty good. So on a rail trail survey where I sent out 2,500, I got 800 back. So, and I also, so I did a mailer to all the 2,500 homes with a QR code, and then they went to the website. And on the mailer, it said you can win $400 bike credit from the local store. So I got 800's good for 2,500.
Is that here?
No, this is.
Okay, how about for here? What are your response? Do you mind if I ask?
No, no,
Yep,
no, no.
Chair.
The best I've gotten is almost 1,000, and that was the second. Survey
How many
we
did you send out?
I don't have postcard money. I don't know where you get these postcards.
Thank
That could be like $6,000.
Advertising the postcards
I tried to put something in the water bill, which is like $500, but it takes 3 months to get through the entire town. And that type of thing, but we have a whole kind of system of ways of trying to get the word out, and I'm sure we missed them. But hopefully with Lori Sullivan, we'll have more opportunities to expand.
Still, 1,000's a good number.
I was very
Yeah.
pleased with 1,000. You get, how many people come to town meeting?
Not even close.
But that was really good. I think
No,
I think if you get 400 or 500, that's pretty good too.
The issue is geographical and age distribution. So that's tough to do. So in a master plan survey in North Andover, we set up quadrants by voting blocks, and then we try to get a percentage in each one. So if we didn't get the hits we wanted, we resend and recall. We did phone surveys there, so we kept on calling numbers until I get the percentage out of the district, the voting district. And then, so I got an equivalent percentage of votes, and then I kept on hitting them. Phone savers are really tough. I had seniors making the phone calls. But we had a phone list that you get from a service. And so you do every 10th, and then when you don't get the hit you want, you move down to and do every 10th. Until you get the numbers in that district and you get the age and demographic distribution. So that took 4 months to just keep on calling places that weren't picking up.
Can I just ask to clarify if we're having an attempted public meeting by March 10th, will we hope to have the survey out before then? Because that I think will be quite helpful to.
Yeah, I think we can, but we won't have any results back. So
Yeah,
it may be that you have the public meeting and actually do the survey after that, then you pull information in public meeting that you wouldn't have thought of. I mean, that's one of the typical methods is you start it out, you have the public meeting, and then people bring up comments and you say, oh, that would be a good question. You know?
True.
So,
We're just maybe gonna wanna think about how to get more people to come to a public meeting.
yeah, I mean, so what
Is
we,
this March tenth confirmed?
no,
Okay,
this is the first part of the schedule and was only that because I didn't know what I was gonna get returns from teams. So the teams set your schedule by virtue of if I wasn't going to get meeting dates inside the April date, then I'd have to move things out. So right now, because you've solidified two things. Seems like the consultant selection is still moving ahead. I'm not anybody walking away. And then the teams meetings are now solidified to end in April. So what March 10th does is before you go into the April RFP, is you get comments as to what some of the ideas coming back are. So warn or encourage the teams that you're in the right direction along. So no, it can be anywhere around in March, could be moved up or down, but I think what you want to do is you want to look at where you place the survey. So the cards idea that Kathy mentioned. We have a survey that we need to do for housing rehab to get housing rehab clients to have a successful CDBG application. LCP is gonna have a survey, we're gonna have a survey, so we're thinking of is creating a survey webpage. And then all the links to the separate surveys will be there, rather than people going over here to the LCP and over here. And then you would send out a card that between all of us gleaning the spare change in the couch between all these committees, that we would be able to pay for the cards, which is about $6,000. And we would send every household the link to the survey page. The advantage is we could send that out maybe every other year. And as the survey is changing out on that page, people can say, oh, wow, I haven't checked the survey page to see what's up. So we could share the cost between CDBG has some money and I have some money in this budget that we could send the cards and LCP can write our,
I'm gonna write your
write
quote
our
down.
coattails.
I like your thinking.
He found his money. You heard him.
You all heard it. Heard it.
Yes. So I gotta figure out what the actual cost is, the bulk mailing and everything else, and we design a card to be simply about the survey page and not any particular survey. And then that way, if we wanna do, the danger is we don't want, because we have this system, to have everybody, oh, I think we should ask the public, and then suddenly we're surveying every month. So this is gonna be, set of guidelines. The LCP, Mattacheese, and the CDBG are all valid purposes, I mean, I don't wanna be sending out surveys and saying, what do you think about the building department graphics on the trucks, and. I like it and, whatever, so. But,
That's a pretty good idea.
yeah,
The survey page and
survey page, so that there are a whole bunch of things that, could happen in a given year. That, people would just go to the page occasionally. So we could send out a card and then maybe 2 years later, send out a card, remind them, and we're not constantly doing that. So.
Is there a way to
I've-
capture the,
Go ahead, no, go ahead, Roby.
I was gonna say, when someone does a survey, is there a way to capture their information, or are they all anonymous? The only reason I'm asking is because if they do a survey and they give you their information, can you respond? Here's another survey, seeing as how you were so great about last one.
Well,
Okay.
the open space and rec plan, a lot of people gave me their email address to keep abreast of things as that was moving along. And on occasion, if it's something, even like the LCP where open space and natural systems are all part of it, I'll say, based on your previous interest in the open space and rec plan, I thought you might be interested in this, but I'm very careful
Yeah,
of when I do it. And
it'd just be nice to put that codicil in there if you're interested in doing surveys, and this is a great way to keep abreast of what's going on in town. Please be willing, or if you're willing to provide your contact information, It might be an avenue. I was just thinking if
But
it
you're
would
right.
save
I
some money.
think when they get to that page after reading the card, they can sign up to get notified anytime anything changes.
I like that. Ooh, the signups are awesome.
The answer is yes, because I've done that. I've filled out a survey, given my contact information, so I get,
Yep.
I get emails all the time.
Did you get them from me?
Probably, I don't fill them out all the time, but you
Yeah.
know.
But you're right, because I sign up for everything there is. And so I get a lot of emails. You're right.
I'm
it's a lot,
less,
but-
I would want to ask some questions that go to the person's interest in Mattacheese, like, the site and awareness questions, but stay away from collecting anything else. I mean, Kathy has a good point. It's a good way to keep in touch with people. Just don't want any detailed information, hacking and all that.
We would like to know their Yarmouth residents. How does that-
We
you
can't
just
do that. I mean, we can ask them, but you collect their IP address and you do an IP lockout, which it means that they can't, only one household can, one
Right.
response per household. And then you can determine
Per device.
what.
It's usually per
That's
device.
a MAC address. I think. The IP address is assigned to the router. Not to the device, I think. So this email, this Wi-Fi has an IP address. But you're right, I mean, it might be, they have different ways of handling it, but we would have a lockout so somebody can't sit in another state and bang out your survey.
I would hope eventually the committee would get the survey to look at and. to
Yeah, they will.
Throw in ideas like Roby's and.
Right.
Yeah,
But we should always keep in mind, I think, progress, not perfection. Like knowing that this timeline is tight,
Yep.
then we're like, let's get a consultant, let's get our survey figured out and postcard, have them come to meeting and the dates.
Yeah,
Right.
I think
I
we
feel like
want at
that's
least 2 surveys up on that website before we send the postcards, because I don't want to send it and have them have a blank, coming
Yeah.
soon. So when are you gonna have your,
Not for a little while.
when would you suggest, so we're not confusing them with our releases?
Probably in June.
Okay, good. Ours is probably gonna be the spring. Because the consultant comes on board, helps with the question is, do you want to have the public meeting before you do the survey so you can gather information that goes into the survey? That's usually the,
Probably.
I think there's more
Yeah.
advantages having it prior to,
Creating a survey.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 There are some advantages for having the survey out first, but I think
right,
out after the public meeting is more advantageous over.
So we should, in relation to us talking about how we're getting the word out then about the survey last meeting, it should actually be, let's get the word out for the public meeting. And when we decide that is happening.
well, when we get to next steps, we can talk about communication, publication and some of these issues that we've just been talking about.
well, I mean, the other
What our
thing,
goal is.
yeah, the other thing is the card could probably contain something that maybe we have a survey important public meeting page. And we try to do both on that page. So you put the card out there, and then if you have a public meeting on the 29th, you would have a link to it on this survey public meeting page. We can call it the input page, whatever. And then that way I send out one card and I've got, I just don't want people, we're having a public meeting on, I mean, it's important, but the stormwater plan, on that, it's like LCP, Mark, what else would be of sufficient notoriety? Yeah, so, I'll take a look at where we're gonna, work with, communications to build the survey page, maybe we expand that, and then the card is pretty easy, I already have a template that I use for something else. We gotta get the QR code for the page and, as I said, somebody I know did this in a like-sized town, and he said it was about $6,000. And he was doing a housing rehab survey to try to get clients for the program, and he said, without the card, he got 50 people. With the card, he got 400. So to sign up. So it's worth it. So that's a methodology moving forward. And
Operations costs.
so the operation cost, Ron has brought it up at a meeting, and this is a printout from finance department, $111, you can see the board, lobby, in the plot, but you'd probably explain this better than I can. It's mostly, minor maintenance issues, 4x8 plywood, and then there's obviously electricians and
Yep, utilities.
Landscaping. The only service contract we specifically have are related to the boilers. So George Wilkinson does annual inspections, and we've had 2 circulator pumps go down. I would say that the alarms is an annual contract, and we have had the alarm company in there on numerous occasions when we first took over the building, because the alarm frequency wasn't capturing the alarm signals correctly, so we had to move things around to better facilitate our alarms. And actually, the process of shutting off the alarms or turning the alarms on when people left the building. So we had to make some adjustments. There is a generator on site. We have had to do some repairs to the generator to keep that operating. There is an elevator on site, although it is not being used according to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. It must be in working condition and it must be inspected annually. So there are some major requirements as far as those buildings are concerned, that even though portions of the building aren't being used, we still have to maintain them. But you'll see St. Peter's Landscape, that was landscaping for the property, and that started last year. And the golf department was gracious to assist with landscaping the other portion of the year, and we anticipate having a need to do landscaping again next year.
With, say,
We don't know who it will be. It'll either be a bid, or maybe the school will help us because they'll be using some of the property. We're still working our way through those bugs, but the exterior of the building definitely needs to be maintained. And it certainly makes the building look a lot better when you're landscaping it up close to the building, not just the fields. So we made an effort to make sure that the building didn't look like it was neglected either. So, and we've had to do some rekeying of doors, so you'll see some locksmith pieces. We did have some damage, and we've had, like Bill said, we've had quite a few windows had to be boarded up, and just recently over the past weekend, we had another incident where some large rocks were thrown through a couple of buildings on the backs, a couple of the windows on the back side of the building. So we're not replacing the windows, we're just boarding them.
I noticed there's some hefty fees from National Grid.
your electric bill, right?
For
The heat?
It's the heat.
Yeah,
the,
is that a quarterly? Or is it a monthly?
Oh, no, that's a monthly bill.
So Robbie, we had 2 years of $200,000 into this, and that's really the allocation.
Yep.
So,
I don't know what we're gonna get this year. I hope to maintain that.
you know what that number is, that's, I think that it doesn't go through CIP, but, while this is good to know that you're spending money, the fact that 400 grand is out of the mix, and other things in their budget is really the number. Because if Robbie had 400,000, then her truck problem would be completely solved probably. So Mattacheese is encumbering money,
Mhm.
so it's less of an issue of what we're spending, because these are all extremely valid, expenditures. And it's more of what we're encumbering and taking out of the ability to apply to other areas of the budget.
I would also say, I'm sorry, I know you want to ask one question. We had to bring in an entity to do an inspection of the basketball hoops, the seating Not only in the
Bleachers.
auditorium and the gymnasium, but, and also the wall that comes down, that's an automated door. So they had to do inspections of those. And there were several repairs that needed to be done to the tune of, I think, an additional $2,000. That work was just performed. So the inspection was performed and then the work was performed. We found that the chairs in the auditorium cannot be repaired. They no longer make those types of chairs, so we opted not to do anything with those, except we will be removing sections, because when recreation does have events using that auditorium, there are definitely hazards because the plastic chairs are missing and you end up with jagged edges of the metal. So we'll be removing those so that they're not trip hazards and obviously not a hazard to people.
What does, this is an additional question, but what does recreation use the auditorium for?
When they have large events, they have usually movie nights. If they do like an event, like the Halloween event, they
Yeah.
showed a movie. And then during the summertime, when it rains, sometimes they bring the movies indoors and that's what they're using the auditorium for.
So I just make a comment on that. You know, as part of the finance committee, we're going through budgets right now, and we had recreation in 2 weeks ago. And the young gentleman, I forget his first name. Steven, thank you. I think every other sentence he said had the word Mattacheese in it. So like I knew they used it. I didn't realize how much they use Mattacheese for recreation. So something we definitely need to keep in mind as we go through this process of, you know, I'm sure they'll have great ideas of what to do with the building and everything, but there's the existing part as well, so.
Well, I'm sure we're gonna be wrestling with all those kinds of decisions once we get all the ideas out, and what have you. And there will be this whole debate about money or community, and so be prepared. I mean,
Mhm.
that those are gonna be the.
Yeah, I mean, it was quite, I think they're the only department so far that's brought up Mattacheese.
I
We
don't.
haven't gotten to you guys.
Kind of avoid it.
My question for you, Roby, was in regards to recreation. So they have a great deal of use, as John is saying. So do they have like an umbrella insurance for the kids? Is that how they do liability?
The insurance is all handled through the town administrator's office and they do have forms that they sign. I believe for all of the students that come into their programs, whether it's a release for liability, I couldn't say. I don't really
Well,
get
I
involved in
know
that.
from pickleball, they required them to sign as well. and
Yep,
it was a
I would
release.
imagine it's something very
Yeah.
similar to that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Not that I don't
And
play
it's-
pickleball, trust me.
It's the same thing that we use for volunteers who participate in our programs, whether it's the community cleanup or anything else going on. It's basically saying you're using this, you're on town property at your own limit, at your own will.
At risk.
Yep.
Yes.
So to John's point, this is the only gym that they have available to them. They used to have some availability.
Station
Dennis,
F, I thought.
Wixon is closed.
They took 4, like, I guess it was probably a total of, because the Mattacheese gym could have been 2 for
Yeah.
like boys, girls, middle school, elementary rec, all of it. One gym space, one thing that was very much not thought of when they built the new school.
Yeah, so Mattacheese,
Like-
I mean,
But Station Ave, they don't use for rec programs still? I mean. they
No,
did.
I don't think so.
they do,
They might, I guess.
They did
Dennis-
before.
Dennis is using Station Ave, I believe. I believe,
Station Ave Elementary, the Yarmouth School?
yes,
Not the elementary school.
they're using DY.
The
Intermediate. Is that what you're talking about?
intermediate.
Oh, they're using, I'm sorry, you're right, the intermediate, yep.
Yeah, but
But somebody
there
else
used
is
to be
using,
programs in Station Ave.
yeah, I don't know who's
Elementary.
using that
They
now.
might still be, I think, yeah, the younger
Hmm.
elementary rec kids do Station Ave, but
The irony behind our programs is we have 300 kids in the basketball program and we have the same split in Yarmouth and Dennis that they have in the school department. So we have about 70%, you know, between
Yarmouth.
60 and 7% Yarmouth and, you know, 30 to 40 Dennis. So we are the basketball program pretty much for the area.
mhm.
And but
In the fields as well, because
Yeah.
Dennis is using Mattacheese fields in the summertime for a lot of their programs. Where all of a sudden I went,
Single
no,
dentist programs or joint?
dentist school programs,
Are they paying money?
not to my knowledge.
And you're sure they're just for dentists?
I'm not sure, but I
Yeah.
know that there was dentist coaches over there. So that was something I specifically went and introduced myself and he said, oh, I'm a coach from Dennis. And so that's under the rec umbrella. That's the only reason I even knew about it.
Doesn't the rec cover any insurance for their programs then? It's just the release?
I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah,
I
I'm
don't,
just curious
yeah.
as to how that works. And then Barbara had asked, in terms of who uses the building and thinking that it was just rec. But I've heard that there's a daycare program there.
no, absolutely not.
No, that's not,
Well, the rec offers
Daycare?
like school vacation. week.
Summer,
Yeah.
8 weeks during the summer.
Yep.
Yeah.
For,
there's something going on now, I think.
And February break, that like when we have like earlier, like it's Town of Yarmouth rec. Emails and says, sign your
Daycare.
kids up for early
Daycare.
release day, yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Games and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's through Yarmouth rec is where I get the emails from.
Okay. So it's not school.
No,
Nope.
most of the sports outside of school are us, Yarmouth. In fact, the programs is Lindsay's indicating. Rick has done a good job of relating to the school schedule. pretty well.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So is it relevant for us to get a more thorough list of who's using the building?
It's just our rec department.
It's just what?
It's just our rec department.
Rec is using the auditorium and the gymnasium, the band room and one other room in that area. of the building. And then police
What's
and
the one other room?
it's just behind the band room. So if you're in the auditorium and you're looking at the stage, there's two rooms behind that. One is for
Is that?
musical
one of those
instruments and then another one is just an office.
choral-
It's
Is that the choral room?
perhaps,
Yeah.
they might call
And
it that.
so is there a drape to separate
Mhm.
these rooms? or-
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, there's actually a wall, I believe. There's a
Is it a
wall
wall?
there. And then there's a door to go into those two rooms.
We walked like around, so like you walked in when you would vote for town meeting, right? And so to the left, the gym, the auditorium, you
Yeah.
go down that hallway to the right, and that would be where they like,
Yeah, there's two.
those
doors.
two
Yeah.
rooms.
Right. I've been,
But we
because
didn't-
they used to hold selectmen meeting, pre-town meetings.
It
so
must be for drama and stuff like that.
It was,
It
yeah,
was, it was a choral.
But
I think to Barbara's point, though,
Yeah.
there might be a valid reason to see a list from rec.
Yeah.
Of usage throughout the whole year and,
They receive for income.
yeah, and just, you
Field
know,
as well,
yeah,
who's using those fields, not,
like it's,
I don't have a problem with anybody using the fields, that's wonderful.
Aren't they
But
gonna do
who
that when
is?
they submit their proposal?
I hope so.
I would hope so.
We're in the
True.
redevelopment,
Yeah.
mode, not in the operating mode.
Yeah.
Anything they
Making
do now is.
Well,
Belichick
just
used to
so
say,
you
we're on
know, I
to
think there's an
Cincinnati.
interest. There's an interest to know what the income is too, besides. the
It
expense.
is below nominal.
yeah.
Yeah.
They don't.
They make
charge
it
people-
extremely
they-
affordable.
Yeah, that's the best way to put it. They charge them what their costs are and not even that sometimes.
Yeah, maybe more in the sense of not dollar amount, but like what would our town community be losing if this turned into a, you know, now where do the kids go during break?
Right, right.
Sure,
Right.
let's
Yeah.
all make a note to make sure that we ask.
Yeah.
When that
Yeah.
Yeah,
can happen.
I mean, I think it's great. I think it's wonderful that we're able to do these things at very low cost. Just curious to know how much of these things we are doing.
Mm-hmm,
you
yeah,
know? I mean, because you're right, you don't want to lose the kids.
Yeah.
Among other things.
And I will tell you that at the presentation with the selectmen, they expect to know everything.
mm-hmm,
They want a full, in my opinion, they want all the information about everything that's been presented for the areas.
right, and but.
So we're gonna
I
ask
guess my
questions.
Point is we're trying to
Correct.
give the selectmen a
Yeah.
proposal and therefore the costs associated with that, not the ones
Correct.
we have now. Because there is no gym space and why there isn't more gym space in the school department for these programs, given we have most of the kids from that school department and we're serving them. Either that, we lost parts of Wixom. And when they had Wixom, they were renting it out to adult programs and not kids. We were the only sort of recreation of really the only basketball program. that they had.
Emmy Small has a small gym, but I didn't know if that's used too, for the
No.
youngsters.
I actually don't know why Ezra Baker isn't, but
I think they have a gym.
they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there are no rec programs happen there, like none of the YD basketball.
Are there Dennis rec programs? there?
It's Dennis Yarmouth rec program, like the basketball, like that's happening right now and goes, yeah. Then it's both kids from both towns.
But it's just
And now
Yarmouth
it-
that runs it.
Yeah,
Dennis has nothing to do with it.
right. Yeah, it is Yarmouth rec. Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry, I stand
No, no,
corrected,
no, but
but
you're
it
right.
is
It
Dennis
is both
kids
kids.
come.
So-
Curious as what
We-
Dennis. rec
Sandwich kids could
does.
come totally
Right.
too. Yeah,
We
for
refer
sure.
to it as YD.
Yeah.
Yeah,
not
my
DY.
bad. Yeah, it's actually just why,
Paying for it.
why rec, yeah.
Yeah, and the advantage is that kids who go to school together eventually or currently are playing basketball together. We didn't wanna. You know, we're not really excluding Dennis kids because it's a Yarmouth program. These kids don't, you know, they matriculate through the school department.
We'll
And-
also take money from anybody that wants
There you
to
go.
be a part of our rec program, so like
Yes.
we won't
Right.
check your zip code for that.
But I mean, I'm amazed when they, even when they were, when Amy was originally here and then Anthony and Steve. Our nomadic hunt for gym space has been at least a 3-year journey. And finally, Mattacheese only opened up when everybody moved out and it was a savior.
Mhm.
Because we were going, oh, we can't get into Wixom because they're running this program. We can't get into our BY
New
schools
school.
because of this program. So what's happened is now that we have Mattacheese, the program ballooned up to 300 kids.
Could be more.
Yeah, it is more, yeah. 300 was the last count last year, I think.
We digress again.
Yeah,
So update of products.
product would be the study.
Yeah.
So this is an FCA study, which is Facilities Condition Assessment. It's a typical engineering standard assessment. It's a walkthrough. And then it's based on, you know, viable costs. They've broken down the cost between capital expenditures of 24 million and associated costs at 17. Associated cost will be construction, design, soft costs, and things like that to get 24 and probably with demobilization and other things. So the breakdown is by certain areas where your electrical is the most problematic, along with your mechanical. You've got more than $10 million in each of those categories. I've talked to Robert Nelson, the facilities guy. He likes the report, and Mark Grills said there could be more on the ADA side and code, so we're gonna have them mention the correct code for ADA. But they did cover that in the report, that there's a lot of ADA work that has to be done, which is American Disabilities Act.
Did you print this or did?
No, I did not print this, no.
But
it's
it's
like
in, it was in
90
our
pages,
email
yeah.
though.
Yeah,
It was in the agenda.
Making sure I didn't print it.
so this is the chart, which is here, from here down, you tear the building down. Maybe a few more windows than were there.
Can I just ask a quick clarification on so the 41 mil, what does that actually represent?
He's broken it down and John, the detail is in the back with the photos and the
Spreadsheet.
category. So, no, not that one.
Yeah, it's just hard to read.
Yeah, let me get the smaller. There we go. So there's your costing, your 41 million is from all of this.
But even like at a higher level, is that to like,
It's for the entire building. That's number one.
right, the entire, but like make it what?
To make it code compliant, you
Just code
pretty
compliant?
much,
Okay,
you're not actually improving the site for a particular
Okay.
use. So the studies I've mentioned that you need to do next is you would go in there and say, if I did residential, what it would cost?
Yeah.
So that'd be above and beyond this. Now, obviously, there's redundant work in soft costs that, you know, if it's. Soft costs are, you know, at 17 million. If you're designing it for residential, then you're picking up. There's some redundant soft costs there, but. What you do is, so for example, in residential, it'd be extremely costly because you're gonna run domestic and fire for water, you're gonna run sewer. You're gonna run all the power, then you're gonna run Ethernet, everything all into these separate rooms, and then you're gonna start. Building in, you know, the fire alarm system, the fire suppression system, suppression system alone, it's gonna be very difficult, because in a residential place like this, if it was residential, you'd need sprinklers. So in an office, you would need bathrooms in each unit, you'd have a stack, that would traverse 2 floors, and you could run all the plumbing in that. It would be cheaper, but you're still starting at 41 million.
And looking at that, like, that's what you're coming home to, or that's
Yeah.
what you're rolling up to for your work, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah, I mean, if
aesthetically
Google bought it and wanna do it, you know, why would we get in their way? But
Make
You
it look so
feel
retro.
that you have to ask that question?
what?
We did this residential, what would it cost?
I
To
think
get this
somebody's,
prepared?
I think somebody's gonna go there,
Mhm.
but if you basically say that. You know, I mean, if you're at $1 million a unit to get it, you know. Out of its current situation, then nobody's gonna buy that.
I just wanted to ask, when you had your conversation with Robert today, did the topic of unknowns come up?
Somewhat,
Mhm.
Is
Yeah.
that's something that he and I talked about a little bit, so I wondered.
the difficulty is that with the central heating system, which is commensurate with like a college campus or something like that. You just, you know, you need to separate that out into zones, and per building. Can't run a system like that, that's a really old way to do it.
They didn't talk about removing the current system that's there. That, I don't
Yes.
think that
They did.
Oh, they
said
did?
They recommended removing it.
they did recommend, but the
Yeah.
cost of removing it, because it's all one piece.
Well, this is the frustration I had with the report, was not breaking down the costs
Sure,
to areas.
yep.
I mean, it doesn't say where when it's talking about some specific problems. It just sort of alludes to it sort of all over the place.
Well,
And
the
it's like-
electrical is all over the place.
Right,
so-
right, and I'm sure.
And
some
the
of it
plumbing is all over the place,
place.
but the HVAC, because of the size of the boilers and the size of the units. I just looked at that as a very large expense to remove that from the building. It would be on top of replacing it, you know what I mean? That these are just things that you don't always think about when you're doing a specification of how do you dispose of this, and it, yeah, I mean, those are additional on top of costs that I kind of thought
Well,
was.
there are also additional questions because, you know, this isn't gonna be how it's gonna be. You know, in terms of what someone might eventually suggest based on just our conversation in terms of the importance of the gym,
Do a 25%
community.
increase.
you know, so.
Yeah.
If you're lucky.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, if the gym was important and you wanted to keep it, then you'd have to replace the heating system was right behind it, it's all.
Oh, absolutely.
boilers. So you would separately in more detail cost out the renovation of the gym. But this basically says to get the building up to code, this is what it costs. If we saw a need, then we don't wanna redundantly say, let's break apart the building and do cost estimates at each. When if you like the parts of the building, then you attack that with your new consultant.
So-
And get more detail on the frame of the gym.
So if I calculated these figures a little bit here, we're talking 45 million just to bring the building up to spec.
So it's
with-
operation,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay. And that would, and again, that would mean replacing pretty much everything because it's all antiquated and out of date.
No, it's not everything. There's unknowns, as
Well,
Rebecca talks about. You're
Yeah,
not talking about interior walls, you're not talking ADA,
right.
you know,
Okay,
so it's much more than that. If you are
Yeah.
required, you know, if it's over 100,000 and over 30%, yeah,
I mean, it just sounds like unless you had a bottomless pit of money.
right.
Google.
Which is why, for me, it's like, why don't you just go?
Bezos.
Do we have a demo? Like a
Well,
total
if
demo?
you Demo this, you'd have to do the remediation first, so you'd have to take the items out of here that are hazardous, and then you do the demo, so it's.
But wouldn't we want to do that regardless? Take the demo, the
Well, I mean, if you-
asbestos out and the whatever, so why don't we work on that?
You could do asbestos remediation, but you mobilize that and then you would come in later for the demo, but. You really don't wanna be in a building until you know what you're gonna do with it.
Yeah, but regardless, you have to remove the asbestos.
Yeah, and where is that money gonna come from?
I don't know. Counting on
I mean,
you. Grants.
Well, in
More
reality,
silica
why don't we get
than
to a point where we're
asbestos.
further along in a study before we start.
State,
I
oh,
don't have any evidence for applying for a grant. I'm gonna have to apply for a grant to remove it, to eventually say, we're gonna tear it down for things I don't know. So if I have a study, I could say, we're gonna tear it down for things I do know. So on the Gantt chart, I might pull a pin when you do the 3 studies, when you go to town meeting, because the town would have voted on a study that says we're gonna do this. But I'm not remediating a building that has no purpose. Because you'll never get the money. So, because nobody's in the building, so there's no danger, you know, in the building, and most of the tiles are probably not friable, so there's no danger there.
But wouldn't it be helpful to know what it would cost to get rid of the, because right now we know that we're spending at least $111,000
Right.
a year to keep
So-
going, even though it's in, but you know.
So let me
Does it-
explain on the schedule, when you go to the implementation cycle. You would get money to do the remediation analysis and then potentially
Okay.
remediation. But you need to figure out what you're gonna use it for to figure out if you're gonna get a grant for the
Got
remediation.
it.
So we go in with 225,000 spent. We come out of town meeting with, okay, the remediation people are gonna go in and the first thing they do is a survey and then they write up the spec for the removal. And then you go building by building and take it out, but. When you wanna do that, there's an economic development group, there's brownfields money that you can use. But brownfields is going to wanna see a cost benefit of what's gonna go in there, what's gonna happen. So they need some sort of reality that they have a developer. So. If they're, if at least we have a town meeting vote, we can go in there. If this were, I had a park project I did where the EPA actually stepped in. Because we had PCBs. And we didn't have the money to clean it up and they did what was called ready response team because. We had a park plan, it was fully funded and we were just waiting to get rid of that. So EPA will come in with ready response. Only if your next step is to build it out as a public asset. So they
We
gave me
still have an
one
EPA.
point 9 million, cleared all the decks for all the permitting, except for theirs, and it was great. So if we have something that's gonna come in here that has that benefit, they'll hire their people to do it, but it'd be unusual for a building. They usually don't do buildings. So you really need to be at that 18-month point where you're telling, where the town is saying, do that. Then you go out onto your implementation plan, and at that town meeting, you might be asking for money to do the remediation analysis and everything else. So we're upfront light. If I were to do this and I would go all the way through implementation, you'd be looking at $2.5 million worth of money to get me to that end block. So instead of doing that, we're gonna get to 3 scenarios and then ask town for the rest of the money. And then that way you're spending it on a scope. I mean, you might do the remediation analysis ahead of time. But you know, we would go into the fall town meeting and ask for that. So that we could figure out what's in the building to then end up in the springtime meeting asking for that amount.
Well, I think they gave a per square foot, if I'm not mistaken, or.
Yeah, well,
Something.
that's not gonna be accurate. I mean, you're gonna have a room by room analysis with people going in and saying, oh, there's the caulking, it has asbestos, it costs this to remove. I had a youth center built in, North Andover. I had to tear down a barn. And the entire floor was 9x9 asbestos tiles with mastic, and they cut it up in 4x4 panels and actually take the floor out. So I had to do that before I tore down the barn, because I would have made it friable if I tore it down. So I had an asbestos team walk through the entire building to make sure that was it. And there was some piping in the basement that was wrapped, things like that. And we took it all out. And then they just walked through, had a big, I'll take it down from there. But on this, there's a lot of remediation. And, you can't just walk through it with a bulldozer and watch the dust fly up in the air and.
What?
Even if you water it down, it doesn't.
So we left you off at requesting residential. What is the cost if you were to develop this residentially?
Yeah,
Is there any other question to ask?
no, I'd say residential office. I can't see retail here. Retail is not much change from office.
So you would do the residential and office space?
Yeah, and I don't know what else we would be able to use this for unless you consider residential assisted living versus residential apartments. I'd probably do residential apartments as your number, but we're trying to figure out the scope because we don't have a design, and I don't want to design it so I could do a cost estimate. I don't want to design anything in this building if eventually we tear it down. So what we would have to do is run a sort of a performance level design and say that the area that's the administrative, that sort of hexagon piece might be the common area, and everything else for the apartments. The apartments would be in the classrooms, and the auditorium would be cut out separately. And so the residential piece would just be the classrooms, and then they would cost estimate that. And that's, wouldn't be too hard. They just need to know where to run the utilities and everything else.
And what would they do for office? Just take a
Well, they
square
just take
footage?
yeah, I mean, they probably could do a square footage for residential too. They just gonna need, where. But office is a lot simpler. Yeah, it's square footage, and then you would change out the bathroom towers, and there's probably gonna be more bathrooms needed in this because office requires more than what the school did at the time. And then there's all the things you have to do to get it there, 41 million.
You could have a bank there. There is a safe.
Oh, yeah? We could sort.
Real big
cash
one.
in.
It's like a
It's a
walk-in.
vault.
Walk-in.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, I can't think of another per square foot use that you would put in there, but. I think it's
Does this
important.
take too terribly long for them to provide?
No, we're trying to figure out the scope, because typically when you do this, an architect has designed it and. Given the $41 million price tag. We just don't want to be put in a position where, let's say. 20 nonprofits come in and say, we'd like to use a building. And then we have 41 million to overcome, plus, let's get, we'll call it office. Somebody comes in and says, we'd love to do housing there. If you give us a building, it's okay. Well, you have a $41 million not plus the rehabilitation or the bringing everything in. So I'm trying to get them to get me something for the same price as this study. So, which is about 20,000 or 24,000, so 22. So, I mean, what you want to do is save most of your money for the crazy big
It is
consultant.
very crazy, yeah.
Why, what's crazy? We're acting as a general right now.
I
That's-
know.
That's what's happening. We're the general contractor.
Is there the option to also include recreational as a business? Like Top Golf, let's just say that, somebody to come in there and build a facility. And
You have to tear it down or,
add on to it.
I mean, that's when you get into the design part that I don't wanna spend money designing anything in that building. I mean, if we were at 20 million, let's say, you know. The bar would be a little bit,
Yeah.
People are at 12 o'clock, then it,
I was in the
Block.
red and I was, and in fact, he said if you add, in the report, it said if you add the ADA, you're in the deep red.
Yeah.
And they didn't add the
0.05.
ADA. You'd be down in here with the ADA.
Yeah.
So you're up at 3.9. And there's some text in there that explains that you'd be at 5 with a few other costs, which they didn't really assess. And ADA is, they probably covered it in fire alarm, but ADA has a fire alarm component, then all the bathrooms, then all the doors. All the doors have to have automatic openers, and everything else. There's probably doorways that aren't wide enough. Things like that. So, but it's the last cost of Robbie, do you remember? What was it? 30 million or something? I forget.
what, that the school anticipated?
On their 2014 study,
Oh,
I forget what that number was. But we were about probably 15 million lower. Yeah, 10 years ago, right? Yeah. pre-COVID. Yeah, and it's a public project, so
New codes
I,
every day.
That's right.
yeah,
well, then you gotta, to your point, you got, when it's a municipal project, there's prevailing wages, so I swear it takes 20 to 30% higher.
no, in a project of this size, you'd have to hire an OPM.
Oh, of course.
And then you'd have an architect at a certain rate, and they have to design it to a certain level.
But you were
What if this report had the ADA in it and was in the big red? Would you still feel a need that you'd have to go and do residential? Spend the money to go and get a residential cost?
You're dealing with certain groups.
Yeah,
When you deal with the general public and somebody says, I can use that. For housing or whatever, you need to tell them what that means. I mean, I can hold off on that study, but. Usually what you do is say, here's what it takes to bring it up to code, and then. If you were gonna do a use, here's what the additional delta would be. And then you're either putting it out of reach. The question is it out of reach now? I know it would be for residential. As I said, I've worked in no buildings and. The utility runs kill it. And in this place, the utility runs and kill it. Office, maybe not so much. But bring it up to office, code and. I don't know. I mean, if somebody wanted to come in here and do a corporate headquarters and the place has. An auditorium, a central office, you could have separate offices and everything else. It has some legs, but the complete replacement of the heating system. And electrical alone, what is it? The cable, is it Romex? I don't know.
I don't know.
Well, the replacement of that is,
The fact is that all of that's going down the tunnel system
yeah,
is just. That's cost prohibitive. I mean, it's gotta all be replaced because it's gotta be replaced, reassigned in the building.
Right.
And the ceilings are cement, so reassigning
oh,
and,
that's right, that's the worst.
yeah,
You
so.
can't drop them in the front.
Right, so that's the piece about the demo is the silica associated with demoing that cement building.
Oh. Think about that.
what do they do? How do they do that?
They have to do it phase by phase and they have to block it all in to contain it and make sure that there's no one on site so that they're not inhaling it. And it's a process.
It doesn't go, so you keep it wet,
They have to
you'll
keep
have
it
water
wet.
running
Yep.
above it.
And they cut chunks? Is that how they do it? Or-
Sure, they're going to use very heavy equipment and, yep.
So it's not gonna be cheap to tear it down.
It's not going to be cheap to, after they've torn it down, finding a place to dispose of it either.
That's, yeah.
Sorry, that's the dumb person in me talking.
We like this. Well, I raised the question because it seems pretty obvious to me without doing any of that stuff, that it's not gonna be good for residential.
Well, let's see what I come back with the scope and,
I mean,
we'll bring it back to you.
It may be a simple list of what this doesn't even cover, ADA, you know, all the things that they didn't do.
It's a unique structure to the extent that you had one open shell space with good exterior load bearing walls. I think you'd have an easier do it. I mean, because you go in, easy gut, you know, and so mill building, things like that. Because then you can set that up as office really quickly, but all these hallways, corridor and everything's concrete. It's you know, you get in too much exterior wall space, you know, everything else, you just. Too much work to do on the building, regardless of that, you know, all the cost estimate. I mean, at least what we have is we have an update and I tried to get them to do a report similar to the KVA report. So you could parallel those and then, and on top of that, Lori in Communications has a report, she's writing a script for the video. What we wanted to do is when we do the video, that she could refer to sections in the report. Like more of a documentary. I didn't want somebody wandering through and say, oh, this look ugly and have no bearing on any technical. So we can now point to, and here's in the report, it mentions this. So then people who want to do the tours can do it. We'll have the thing online. But it's going to be about a month out before all that is put together. They've already done a lot of walkthroughs to get video. We just have to put it together.
What do they have to do to undraft this? Is to reread it?
No, I sent it around to staff and Mark Grills, the building commissioner, commented on it. Robert and I have facilities talked about it. So we're probably by the end of the week. We'll update it. We have those people in tomorrow? They're gonna go through all years, studies, taxes, 28.
We do have they're gonna be
Yeah, so I'll
the
probably
five.
talk to them tomorrow and tell them what to add to it. and
Oh,
it's
great.
done. So,
Oh, you're coming to that meeting?
yeah,
Wonderful.
yeah, because we got senior center and a few others.
Senior Center, the
fire.
2 fire departments, the 424 building.
Chamber building, yeah.
I don't call it the chamber building. I call it 424
424.
because they don't own
That
it.
sounds like an exclusive address.
It does. I'm trying to up the ante here.
Yeah.
Or recreational building.
424.
Get the cost for the for the residential and for the office. Are you also gonna get a cost for the demo? Because the cost of the demo is just throw out something ridiculous like 20 million. Reinvesting in that building is different than knowing you're gonna spend 20 million to get nothing.
Mhm.
versus
Demo
20
is,
million investing. I know it's not 20 million, but I'm just curious.
demo
It
isn't
could
a
be.
once thing. You actually have to have a licensed sort of assessment team do it. Because I've done demo on a, you know, what do you think? I mean, this is not inaccurate, but it's not going to get, I mean, you need a team to walk through and give you a cost. Because you have somebody you know, something
Easy.
or miscalculated or whatever, so. Yeah, I mean, it's not cheap to have a demo team walk through and they don't have to write up a bid spec, they can write up a cost estimate. But I wouldn't have these guys walk through and say, what's the demo?
Right, I'm just saying, when you're getting those other numbers, is there a value of getting a demo number?
Yeah, you're right, and I'll have to, you know, we have to decide at what point we do that. But right now, you know, the next time we meet with the board, we bring in the 41 million and it's like. Could be, forget about it, you know,
Well, that makes
and
sense.
so I wouldn't ask them to do that study until I bring this to the board and say, what's the next steps?
And to that point, when you do that, it's kind of like when we're talking about the prices of things 2 years ago as opposed to this year. So if you ask for a demo price today, that's going to be different in 18 months. It's going to be significantly higher. But how much? That is a percentage.
Yeah, to your point, it's the disposal costs could jump. Somebody could close a dump and suddenly it doubles.
It's the transportation fees to
Yeah.
get to that state that will allow that material. I can tell you the demo material that we're turning over is being shipped either to Atlanta, Georgia or Ohio. So it's the transportation and they're averaging that out on the rail on how much that's costing per ton. So, yeah, it's
And
it's
this
gonna
is a
go
big
up.
job.
And as politics are changing, all of those costs are changing. So that's why, the only reason I'd say if we hold on a little bit longer to find out what that number is, that it
My
might,
demo, yeah. Think it's
you might have a more targeted number.
Is it the concrete that's the big number?
All construction and demolition materials are gonna be more expensive than your household trash. Because we send all of our trash from Yarmouth to the waste to burn energy facility. And we fortunately have a wonderful agreement for that company, to manage our station. So it's a good agreement. But the construction and demolition material is just cost prohibitive.
Yeah, but then you're talking about standard C and D.
Correct. It's a whole lot than what we.
Yeah, asbestos piles and mastic.
Well, wouldn't you say the same thing would apply to the 41 million?
Yes.
So it's the same,
But
right?
I will say that on this, I believe there was an upcharge. He did include,
Nobody has a point. The problem with demo is where do you dump it?
No, I get that. I mean, I'm just saying that we're gonna run into
Yeah.
the
Design.
same exact issue.
to your point, yep, I agree with you, but he did include, I believe he included general conditions, overhead and profit, design and some contingencies, insurance bonds.
What page you on?
I think I'm on the very first page. This didn't print out like it would.
There it is.
Yep, there it is. So there are some additional fees that were included in that 41 million.
Well, some soft costs, right? Is that
Yep, sub
included?
soft cost, yep,
Yeah, but those are current pricing, right?
true.
So I'm just saying that, you can add, in 2 years, you can add 20% to that as well.
Absolutely.
I'm just saying it's Apple,
Say 25 to 30%.
yeah.
No, but there may be some point to.
But isn't it
getting,
better to save on the demolition first than?
No, I'm arguing
Your-
if we have this, it's worth getting the demo number as well,
Right.
even to Roby's point that the costs are, but.
Yep.
This is gonna be right there with it,
Right.
yeah.
And part of my issue is we only have a certain amount of money. So throwing 20,000 to them again to tell you
DPW could
residential.
Loan me some money out of that.
I think she's saving that.
Well, if you demo the building, you can have all the money. But you gotta do it now.
Yeah, I understand. All right, I will see what I can do about figuring out how to do that, but like I said, demo cost estimating has to get rid of something.
So does it cost anything for somebody to come in to give you a cost?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's where they come in and they look at the actual materials that are gonna be removed and they cross-reference it against what Roby's talking about, the transportation and the disposal charges, where it would go.
I wonder if Axios would have
I
someone,
was gonna talk to them. No, but you're right. So move away from what you use it for to what
Get rid of it.
what would the demo cost be?
Nothing. is
What?
free.
You like this? So you're not looking at a unit in there?
I mean, I don't want to discount that you think it's important to convince people down the road that they don't do residential. But I think you've got a good case here in the sense that it's 41 million and they haven't included ADA, they haven't included,
I don't think we're
whatever.
ruling out anything if we talk about demolishing this building. I think that now got a clean
Opening it up.
slate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really, we're changing it to give someone a completely clear slate. The question is, where do we come up with the money to demo it? That's gonna become Bill's.
Could
Yeah, I
also,
mean.
Yeah, but at least you have a.
Could also be
survey.
someone else paying
I
for
was
it
gonna
too.
say the
Right.
same thing, like it could be something that was like,
And then maybe you go to an early town
Partnership.
meeting.
like you want this
You know.
space, the space
And
is
tear it
great, you
down,
know,
Right.
like
because if the,
Exactly.
land. It's
if you amortize
Cover
the
the
cost
cost
of
for
the
demo,
demo
yeah.
for 200 grand
I
a
mean,
year,
if I bought
True.
you might have the money.
an old
to-
house.
And you might have it
I
sooner.
wanted the location,
It's,
I'd pay for that.
Right.
if you had if you demoed it and you had 2 extra years of utilization and income, it would change the whole spectrum of the 18 months, in my opinion. You've got let's say at the end of the 18 months, the decision's made, demo, move forward, you immediately start with a possibility rather than a,
And knowing some of the mixed costs, and I know I'm early on this too, but to know what that auditorium could be bringing in for money if we fix the roof, if we.
Well, you needed a
got
whole
new
new heating
seats in a
system.
section.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and electric.
But I mean, I don't know,
Good.
it could help and that keeps the community in the gym and.
See, this is one of the issues you'll face is the heating system is right behind, correct me if I'm wrong, will be the auditorium. It feeds the rest of the buildings. If we tear the buildings down, we leave that intact so the auditorium can survive and the gym can be used. Because you can't, I mean, you can't put a bunch of mini splits in the. in the
I
thing.
think
Hopefully
the
you-
clean slate idea is a much more realistic presentation because any one of the groups that we're dealing with can come up with the resources to do a gym and do an auditorium. You know, on a clean slate versus saving something that would require a lot of money just to keep that piece of it would. You know,
I don't know what I doubt the demo cost on that would be as dramatic as the rest of it, because all the tunnels and, but whatever, the
right,
point being is if you tear the building down and you want to still use the gym for recreation, we have to find a plan B for recreation. While the auditorium and the gym survives for another use, whatever. It's, what is it, 600 seats or something? What was our town meeting for sewer was 800 people, I think. Yeah, and 200 were in the gym. I hate leaving it because it's like the Boston Garden. They won so many championships there and all of a sudden we go to the intermediate school.
Mm.
You get sewer approved there and it's like, oh, now it's time to leave. It's like a little bit of luck there, but right now you do have to look at it as to what you might demo, but I'll see what I can talk to you about Axius, but demo costs at a high level are not very accurate.
We can put in a buffer of plus 10% or whatever, you know what I mean? But I think
Yeah,
it helps us to have an idea.
no,
of,
you're
like,
right,
I think it answers a question we're gonna get.
yeah.
mm,
So we'll take a look at that instead of looking at what you could do. Because I mean, that little dial thing up at the top is kind of indicative. If we were at the middle, then we might be a
Yeah.
little bit, yeah, there we go. We're up into the yellow area, we're up in here, maybe we would be looking at what could we use it for, but. You know.
Total.
Right.
And they said you would be in the dark red if you had
Right,
ADA and
everything else.
threw in the
There's a-
soft costs and the whole
Yeah.
thing that they talked
There's
about.
actually a specific sentence to that regard in here.
Okay.
All right.
Right. So, any other update on,
No, products,
Products.
that's it. I'll have a survey, but we'll run that by, I think what we talked about is we're doing a survey after the public meeting. So we
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
Gain.
I think so. Yeah,
All right, so that I'll still start working in a survey. We need to be careful not to cross over into LCP or sort of set the stage for education. I don't want to ask questions about that. That's that's the next steps is to get the schedule done. We'll relate it to this sheet. And then also talk to the company that we see here about if they can give me a demo cost. And if we can get a high level demo cost, then yeah, we can probably add to it. But we need to break out that demo cost by main buildings and wings and auditorium, so we can figure out total demo versus.
I assume, yeah, and this is another thing that doesn't tell me in this report, is the wing. You know, B and C and A. If you look at the logistic of A being behind the gym and the whatever, and discount C. Even the admin, everything taken down is while you go through that demo, is everything else safe? But, you might have a better, if you could reclaim C, is it that's behind? No, I'm sorry, A, which is behind the gym. So the A building up top is behind the gym.
Yeah,
And so if you demoed everything, the admin core, the C and the B building, that's gone
we kept A.
and kept A, nothing in here tells me the difference in terms of cost of.
That's not what the ask was. The ask
No,
was
I know,
what
I
the-
know,
what the
that
upgrade
wasn't
would
the
be.
ask, but I'd love to know, since they went through the building. How bad off are the leaks in A or whatever they're saying is horrible. And they say it for A too. I mean,
So these types of assessments, if you're a venture capitalist and
Yeah.
you're gonna buy a building, you have one of these people walk through and say, I'm buying a building for $10 million. What's the nut to get it up to where I need it to be? That's, you hire these people.
yeah,
But they're not gonna tell you
Separate
because you
out.
haven't told them what you're gonna do with it. So it's a way that when you get bank financing, the bank is gonna wanna know what else has to be done before you open. Or the value of the building. So the value of the building inherently is.
right. I was just thinking of the logistics of it, is that it's right behind the gym. It hooks in the hallway from the music
Right,
choral
and it's where
behind
the
the
utilities
stage.
are.
And the utilities, and if it's gonna be less of 41 million, because you're gonna eliminate 3 out of the 5 buildings. Are, separate being wings. or
I
whatever.
think another thing to consider is, based on the proposals that come in from the other groups, we may get rid of that anyhow.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
The A building, I think, probably is gonna be gotten rid of, but I'm saying, well, maybe, if we're talking about offices for recreation. That would be an ideal place for them. Municipal wise. You wouldn't have to go build something, you just have to renovate.
Designing now, a little
Huh?
early.
Yes, I know, but I'm just talking out loud, so,
Brainstorming.
yeah,
Yeah,
and.
Running amok.
running.
Running amok,
Yes.
yeah.
Well,
Anyway,
that's right
those are,
behind
those,
building A, the muck is back there.
yes, yeah,
Looks like peat.
yeah,
almost.
yeah. But anyway, it's just a thought. in
No,
terms of-
I kind of mean, all the utilities are there and the pipe runs and everything else, so.
Right.
How much do you save by keeping that, because if you run the auditorium and you're gonna do events, you're gonna need some sort of. Other meeting rooms, breakout rooms, things like that.
Right, and
So
those
it
are
all
classrooms,
depends.
so,
But, if somebody tells me it's $4 million to tear it all down. Or
renovate.
3.5 to tear down everything but A and then renovate A, it's 2 million. They're all going.
Mhm.
The numbers have to work out between the tear down and the rebuild. And rebuilding is usually cheaper than trying to renovate that.
Mhm.
Because the way they built the building.
Yeah.
I mean, Robbie would tell you, everybody would tell you that there's one of these tunnels and everything's concrete, the ceiling is concrete.
Yeah. Well, I'm okay with that, I just want the thought process to be there and.
Yeah, and I think the auditorium is a completely different building though, I mean, in terms of the design.
Yeah.
So apparently some firm out of Boston designed it for acoustics, so.
It's very
It's very,
groovy.
yeah.
It
the
is
symphony-
Yeah.
really good.
The symphony used to play that.
Yep.
Yeah. well,
And they liked it for the
I
sound.
think the only question I'd have is whether or not there's enough room if we kept only the gym and the auditorium for the structures that would be necessary for water,
To support.
electric,
Yeah.
and and I would say heating and cooling, because we would want to be able to use it year round. So that's going to increase the cost a little bit too. So yeah, you're probably talking about adding on, demoing A and adding on a structure to support the
Right,
gymnasium and auditorium.
right. You wouldn't put the utilities inside the existing
Correct.
structure yet. Because it's already wall to wall.
Mhm.
finished up. And then you might end up building on another gym, while you're doing
Has
Ooh,
everyone
that'd be
had a
nice.
chance to read the memorandum that is,
it. That's part of the next steps, I'm sorry.
Yeah. yeah. And in that, you'll see the brainstorming. Commentary that was provided in there.
Mhm.
So this might seem slightly because we do have all the dates. This was intended to be sent out by the chair. I have now a mock email address, mock project. And
Well, you do have the paragraph about, if you change your meeting date.
yeah,
Still with 14-day notice, so you're still.
so we might send them out and say, please confirm the meeting date. Well, we have them. And then the important part is to be clear to them on what brainstorming is, so we don't, and that's at the end. But this is the, we now have the schedule memo from your group and from the chair. So this is where I was trying to handle logistics in the beginning, to get this thing up and running. I think we're through that. We have the logistics of the meetings. So they just need a little bit more clarity in putting the schedule together. And then we send them the maps, the brainstorming form, the original invite, and then the schedule to date.
Okay, when's our next meeting then? Or you, that like February 10th, or did we not do that one? 'Cause we were-
We weren't going to do that one, but it doesn't mean that we can't do that.
No,
one.
that's, yeah, I don't,
Yeah, but I also want to talk about, do we need to vote this?
Yeah,
Or-
if you want to proceed with that, then I'll clean it up and then send it out.
Is that all right with everybody to basically, we've got most of the dates, not exactly all of them, but most of them. And that if anyone changes a date, that they have to give 14-day notice to us. Is basically what this does.
Mhm. Motion to approve the memorandum.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Lindsay, to your point about schedule. There's a schedule in here. Now that I have the dates, I'm
Yeah.
gonna sort of finish this and then I will send it out and we can choose what your next meeting date is. Really, what we didn't want to do is add a lot of muck schedule dates to only find out you have liaison dates to fulfill. So,
Whoever's doing the January 30th, folks are aware of that. You and Ruby, I'm guessing.
yeah, that's,
Yeah, right.
a lot of that has changed.
The education is crossed off for now, so then
Yeah.
you'll be in touch, but Madam Chair, I will not be in attendance on February 10th if there is a meeting that day.
And neither will Joe.
Okay.
You know, still need quorum.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but I
Yeah.
think he'll,
Yeah.
name what he thinks is necessary.
Sounds
And
good.
we have, at the end of each cycle, a selectmen meeting to. That, like, well, by the time we get to the selectmen's meeting, you'll have your consultant list. The list of consultants.
The other thing I'd like to add for Netflix is clarification about our communication and publicity in terms of what we will do. And so I just want to be sure we're all on the same page. Obviously, the Zoom meetings for all of the related muck helps us. And being on channel 22, the housing one is on channel 22 already. And, I guess then the question, obviously, the public meeting that Bill suggested around March 10th would be another effort, as well as the survey after that. So, I guess, is there a point where we have recommendations maybe from the communication person as to how we go about doing something better than what we're kind of started to do, or?
Well, we have a Facebook page, we have,
Use social
X.
media. There's a news item on the website that a lot of people
Yeah.
have signed up for, press releases,
Yeah,
flyers.
so the press releases would be something that come out of your office, right? Or,
Committees are committees.
Yeah.
And I've learned that
well, I mean,
staff don't do press releases for committees.
Okay.
So, I think what you would do is, you're right, a press release for like an LCP major public meeting. But I think that, the news item on the front of the page would be good. The key though is we have to lock down our dates. You know,
right,
we could have started out and said, okay, these are the dates, we're expecting these meetings, but we didn't get all of them done, so. We need to nail down our public meeting date when our survey release, so
okay.
how these milestones shake out, so I've got March for the public meeting. It doesn't mean that it's on the 10th, it could be on the 20th, you know, or whatever.
Right,
So the most important next milestone, the first milestone is the team design. Your second one is, will we get good consultant proposals? Because on the recreation side, we're fortunate to have gotten the person of the group that wrote the recreation and opens for the master plan, the open space and rec plan. But we only got one proposal for the field study.
Hmm.
So hopefully we'll get a proposal for this.
so the brochure you're doing that you're going to fill in the right dates on.
Well, I don't know if as I said, I was gonna do legal notices instead of that. I still describe those in the legal notices, but what happens is there's the brainstorming one, which will have everybody's dates for that. There is the third one, which will be in March, and then the last one in April. So those three things will be on your webpage, and then they'll be on the agenda summary. Then each group, they don't have to post them until 48 hours in advance. We will post them as soon as I get them all, you know, done.
Is there any point in having this on the front paper?
Yeah, I mean,
In
we
the
have to
town
fix
hall?
it. It's pretty nasty looking, but yeah.
Yeah.
But I need to get the municipal one scheduled to be able to post that, and
Right,
I just got.
well,
the
when
other
you're done
schedules.
with the
Yeah,
posting of this.
the issue though is that's like a component of the project. You're thinking of taking that as, it's just the teams meeting. If somebody's gonna look at that and say, where's the rest of it? So as I said, typically you hire a consultant, they put together your project, they sort of give you a background on the site and everything else. Because we're acting as general contractor to keep the costs down and give the consultant more time to work together, we need to figure out, how to create our own product.
Mhm. So that's something we'll look at.
Yeah, but the problem is it didn't have the dates till today, so
Yeah.
we don't work on anything until I get the dates, because I'm not promising anything that I
Right.
can't fulfill.
Right.
Can I ask a question about the web page, which is really looking good? It's
Yeah, I
filled with
mean,
a lot of
I need to price it up
information.
by topic, yeah.
Whenever you add something to a web page, or if you post an agenda, we can go into notify me and we can add ourselves. I think we talked about this kind of at the
Yeah.
beginning. Is that linked to notify me? I just went and clicked on the notify me for the utilization committee and there was no background. So there's nothing connecting it to letting people follow it. So once we get there, where
Right.
if you sign up for notify me and those updates come through, anyone who signed up is gonna automatically get those things.
Right.
But I think there might still be
You
a.
need to do the
dis-
link between the two.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, because I think that is a great way to do it,
Right.
because then we can use a social media post and in that say, here, this is where you go to sign up to learn about what's going on with Mattacheese. And for me, it's a great avenue, because then anyone who's really interested gets those updates.
Yeah.
Right, and we need to reorganize the site, so we have meetings. We have this new report that'll be posted probably by the end of the week when I hear back from a few other departments. And then, documentation and then schedule, now that we have a schedule. So the page is just random links right now, it should be grouped like you have that on your waterfront park page. I forget the name of the park, so I'm sorry.
It may be changing again. I don't know.
But you have your
Captain
meeting
Partners,
dates and then your documents that the engineer gave you, you have stuff like that.
Each one gets done a little bit differently, but yeah, sorting it for people obviously. That's it.
Yeah,
I don't know how you know, like every time you add something to that page, you would get a notify me.
Well, not every time, but it allows you to put things in. So when you do at least when you're doing an agenda, you get a notified.
Right, I'm signed up for that.
Yep, but you can also, there's other things that you can add to it. So you can add announcements to it. What I have on the waste management page, there's an announcement section where we can go in and say, oh, the disposal area scale is going to be shut down, and it posts a notice and it ships it out to people who have signed
Is
up
it a
for it.
civic send thing or a notify me?
No, you're right. They're two different things, but it is still doing the notify me because it is an alert. So it's still under the notify me, and you're signing up for alerts, you're signing up for agendas. There's options when you go into notify me.
Okay.
Thank you, Roby, for saying that. That's
Yeah.
great. You know,
I said it. I don't read every one of those emails, but when something comes up and it looks important, like an upcoming meeting for the local comprehensive plan,
Yes.
I know when it is because I got a text message on
Yeah.
it. It's just helpful. So
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions or thoughts about any of the items we talked about? Well, then I have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
I think you need a call.
2 hours.